A pleasant day. I am Kurt Ludaes and this is my study or research for FA 160 entitled Exploring Pinecone as a Sculptural Material. So to begin with, pine trees or Pinus cassia are native species in the Cordillera. While they bear great environmental significance to many areas in the region, they also bear symbolic and cultural importance to the people. Baguio is said as the city of pines, attesting the pine trees' history in the area. So by 2017, it is already considered as Baguio's one town, one product. The ordinance concerned added that local government shall provide livelihood activities for the massive propagation, protection, and promotion of the Pinus cassia, including handicrafts and artworks of souvenirs and tokens using the local pine needles, twigs, or cones gathered from pine tree needle or cone droppings, pruning, or trees cut pursuant to the city's environmental code. With Baguio as a creative city, it may be beneficial to find a variety of creative products concerning this Baguio or Benguet pine. Okay, so pine cones are often seen sold on craft stores in Baguio and Benguet as decorations. Among the prominent products they are used as are Christmas trees, Christmas wreaths, and other crafts. So its use is indeed limited at the moment, with the most prominent product is the Christmas tree from Pinecone or the Christmas wreath. Now its use is indeed limited, and so I believe that in applying media exploration, the Pinecone as a medium for arts can still expand further. Now this is actually an earlier work I did, and it was a challenge that I began in my first year. As I progressed and doing this type of works, I found some inspirations and suggestions which were beneficial for this endeavor. Pine cones became close to me and I find that using them for art, specifically in sculpture, is a challenge. And so here are some inspirations that I looked up to. The first is Bokumagun's Vengeance of 2010, and it used animal bone, epoxy, ground marble, and metal. The second is a driftwood art, something that is very popular these days. In the, as for me, it is interesting to look at how these were used according or based on their structure and appearance. Moreover, how they were combined with different materials to achieve those looks is something that I am interested to do to the pine cones. So moving on, the objectives of this study is to analyze the physical appearance and structure of pine cones. They're quite unique and they have unique mechanisms. And then the second is to explore techniques to incorporate on pine cones for sculpture making. And the third is to create an artwork combining and applying the different sculptural techniques learned. Of course, this will be the compatible ones or the ones that are best. And so for the methodology of this study, pine cones from Benguet and Baguio were gathered or will be gathered since this is a proposal. Cleaning and preserving them will be done to remove the dirt and of course for yeah. So afterwards, sculptural techniques will be applied and possibly combined to explore the material and create an artwork. So for the initial experimentation, there are four processes or methods, and that is the assemblage, texture switch, joinery, and plaster casting. Assemblage combines the pine cone with two or more objects to create sample artworks. Adhesives will be used for assemblage. Texture switch is similar with it as it combines two materials, but it is done to create a new surface texture. On the other hand, joinery is an additive process that does not use adhesives. So here is the processes or the work. So these are two commonly used methods when it comes to preparing pine cones. These are varnished and cleaned, and they were some pine cones were descaled, some were cut, and it showed those flower-like structures. So here are some initial experiments or explorations. First are push molds. I created them, and these are clay from clay. And here are the results making them. It was to see the texture, and here is a modeling type of sculpture made from a modeling process, but with pine cones and pine cone scales. Okay, the appearance is a bit dirty due to the process it has been to, which is plaster casting. I casted this with the use of a alginate mold, and sad to say silicone molds were difficult to procure during this pandemic. So here is the result, and you can see the detail there. And here are other attempts. The first one is similar to the one with the epoxy, but due to the clays, the material used here are clay and pine scales, but sad to say pine cones were not sticking, and they were falling off. And the third image is something that I played with, um, just clay, and it was a push mold. I created that by pushing the pine cone and creating that texture. So that's the other attempts. And in conclusion, there were other before that there were other things done, but sad to say they were destroyed or were very brittle or not good. So in conclusion, I did a SWOT analysis, and for the strengths is since pine cones are native in the Cordilleras, they can be procured easily, they can be acquired easily, and they can be in abundant quantities. Moreover, due to their nature as protector of seeds, holder of seeds, they take long to degrade, and they are a hard material. As for its weaknesses, these things are still biodegradable and needs treatment like varnishing and cleaning before use. Next is they are difficult to use, especially for small scale or creating something with form using pine cones can be difficult, and it is best to use it along with another material as I have shown. And the opportunities, it can be used for texture making, which is something that I consider to be the focus of this. I focus more on texture as pine cones can create lots of interesting texture, and it can also be combined with modeling materials. It can be cut, shaped, disassembled, and it can be used for casting. There are some videos in YouTube and other artists who cast pinecone as it is, but sad to say the material needed or most compatible, like the silicone mold, is hard or difficult to get these days due to the pandemic. So the threats are first weather and degradation, since it is a once again biodegradable material. Next are insects, which can destroy the pine cone. X is the artificial pine cones. Not much, but they are threats when it comes to the use. And then overuse. Overuse. So with this word overuse, or with this issue overusing, over harvesting, I've also found that this exploration can help in finding more cost-effective ways and in environmental friendly ways on using pine cone as a sculptural material. So maybe simple this study, but it is it is a challenge. Many nowadays focus on pine needles, pine wood, and pine branches. But then the pine cones are usually um, there only used for those decors, arts and crafts. And I'd like to explore more and see the visual possibilities for this material. Before I end, um, this study is very limited at the moment, or planning is limited at the moment, and creating large scale things can be very difficult due to the pandemic. So I will focus on creating small scale sculptures for this. That is all, and thank you for listening. Good day.